Hello, thank you for joining the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Ozugbakun. Today on the Hangout, federal government gets 5,000 whistleblower tips, recovers 11 billion naira. Boko Haram kills 27 in Konduga, attacks 2 Adama communities. Kogi governor tells PDP to forget it about returning to power in 2019. And later on the program, stone-throwing mob disrupt Charlie Boy's protests at Use Market in Abuja. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolari Otutoju, Ismail Omikwidon. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. In December 2016, the federal government instituted a whistleblower policy to help fight corruption. At the same time, many Nigerians hoped they would profit from the new initiative. 8 months down the line, both smiling to the bank. For years, funds meant for the developmental projects have been looted and diverted to private pockets. Corruption became Nigeria's bane. Today, more than 5,000 whistleblower tips have been received by the federal government. Out of that figure, hundreds came from public servants. They reported contract inflation, ghost workers, illegal recruitment, illegal sale of government assets, and diversion of revenues. On Tuesday, the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, described the whistleblower policy as one of government's most successful new initiatives. Now, she said 11.6 billion naira have so far been recovered, while 20 whistleblowers got a cut of 375 million naira from the recovered loot. That's quite large. And Adeosun further said Nigerians should not see the policy as an act of treachery, but a patriotic one. But a quote from an anonymous writer says whistleblowers are the relatives, staff, or friends of the blowee who did not feel any blow. When the blowee was blowing cash around, what does it take? It's very, very funny. Babajide, when this thing started, I was quite skeptical about it because I thought this was one of those initiatives that you can that can make progress in developing developed countries, not a climb like Nigeria. But right now, from the reports we are getting, it's mixed bag. While some people actually blew the whistle and they're on their way to jail. Yes, for blowing a false alarm. Yes. Some have collected out of this 375 million naira.
Yeah, if you blow the whistle the right way, your palm will be greased. But if you lie to Nigerian officials that you saw someone loading money into his house and they go there and they do not see anything, like it happened with the former vice president and the deputy senate president. They are going to put you on trial. They are going to put you on trial, and that's what you might end up in jail. That's what has happened. Yes, you see, the thing is, the promise of payment, like 5% of what is recovered. For example, the government said, look, if you help the government to recover up to 5 billion, you will get 2.5% of that sum. That's enough to...
No going back.
That's enough to make some people go crazy. It's enough to make some people go crazy. So if you help government to recover 1 billion, you will get 5%. Of course, 5 billion is a lot of money. So that's why it's 2.5 billion that you get. So, and just as Alhaji Lai Mohammed said some time ago, this has been really successful. They found $136 million in an account in a commercial bank. An account that was operated with a fake name. So you can imagine how much the person who owned the person who blew that whistle will get. That person will almost run mad when his reward for blowing the whistle is given to him. $136 million. $36,000. $136,000 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Ismail.
Yes.
When you look at this trend, newly introduced to the government, because we don't have a culture of trusting government. We don't have a culture, in other developed countries, when it comes to police investigation, they are able to make all those giant strides and breakthroughs because they have the cooperation of the community. Yes, but this is kind of new to us, and yet it has recorded this monumental success.
Well, I think one of the reasons why it has recorded this much success is because of the fact that most of those whom money were recovered from, find out are those who have refused to impact on their immediate community with the stashed funds. That was why when we were reading that that anonymous quote, I was laughing because we had it on a good authority that the man who blew the whistle on the former NNPC GMD is one of his relatives.
Yes.
It's one of his relatives, And I also recall very well that on the day EFCC went to remove some of those boxes, some of the residents were like, so
this kind of thing is
this
here.
Man is wicked, and see the road.
Look at the road. Look at the area.
The roads are bad. You understand?
Even that building was.
You understand?
So you can't imagine that you kept that kind of money.
Yes.
So the mere fact that you have a commission from whatever effort you put in will certainly make people, want to go the extra mile. I want to also tell you that sometimes it is even the security agents that will give the tip to a prospective whistleblower that, look, I am sure of this, but because of the job I do, I can't do it. But when you get the commission, this is going to be my court. Oh yeah, proceed.
And it's good.
It's good because it's those security men that are used to even pack.
To pack
the money.
So,
I'm sure Yakubu did not carry the $9 million.
No, he will not carry
in fact, in Yakubu's case, the person who blew the whistle was still insisting that the number of boxes recovered were short what he knew was there. So the argument eventually was that probably they were removing those boxes before EFCC, moved in and recovered the ones they recovered.
Jide, when you want to look at it now and you want to feel that this should serve as a kind of deterrent to people that just feel that we have housemaids, megad that you are paying 15, 20,000
peanuts.
And peanuts, and those people will help you to be lifting millions of dollars in cash into your residence.
Yes, you see, there is no big Nigerian who can commit big crimes without some people knowing. If he's a womanizer, his driver will know about his escapades. His driver will know the road, the way to the homes of his concubines. He may just choose not to tell the wife, but the driver will know.
Certainly.
His PA will know. His girlfriend's in town. Because it's probably, in some cases, will need to call those people on Oga's behalf.
Or if the person is a public office holder, is security,
orderly, and
yes.
other people. I remember one governor that every time he was traveling, one governor in the north, he would send an advance team. That advance team had just one driver. Was that driver that would take the girlfriend to go and wait for Mr. Governor in the city that he's traveling to. So people in the government cycle were always saying, okay, drive an East Canal.
What's the
meaning? That you only drive spirits. Because they don't see any other government official, any other staff of government in his vehicle, but they will see him leaving ahead of other people. So on his way, when he leaves government house, he will stop by somewhere and pick Oga's concubine, and then drive Oga's concubines as an advance party
conference material
to the place where Oga is
Conference
going.
material.
So he was driving his car because you don't get to see anybody that he drives, and that was his own job. So it's the same thing with stealing. Yes, you know, it's the same thing with stealing. You can't do it alone. Just as you said, there is no way Yakubu will have carried those boxes on his head. He will not even visit that place.
Yes,
He will just know that they kept his money here somehow. Many Nigerian officials, that is what they do. When they die, so many of the billions that they have stolen die with them. Because they do not even confide in members of their families.
Their wives,
most times it's Lebanese people that they confide in. Nigerian thieves find it a lot more comfortable to confide in Lebanese people and other Asians than their own people. People have learned lessons. They think that, oh, if their own people are harassed sufficiently, they will give up. But they think that those Lebanese are very, very, when it comes to protecting your identity and your interest, that they are good at that. So most times, they will not open accounts in their own names.
Yes.
Other people would look at even Patient Jonathan's case, for example. You know, accounts opened in the names of those individuals, but Madame held on to their ATM cards, meaning that they can't withdraw money from those accounts, opened in their own names. So this is the thing. So whistleblowers are all over the place. If the Nigerian authorities can guarantee the safety of people, because you must think of your life.
Yes.
You must think of your life. Everyone alive thinks that he has hope. That he thinks that his tomorrow will be better than his today. So he's not going to take undue risk that can cost him his life. So if people can be guaranteed of a confidentiality,
very important.
I can tell you that this whistleblower policy would even succeed beyond what we have seen. More people will come forward, not just because of the money, but because they need to help their country to defeat corruption.
Ismail, is not limited to just cash.
Yes.
Contract inflation, ghost workers, illegal recruitment, steal of government assets, and diversion of revenues.
Yes, I was I was listening to the finance minister when she was reading out some of those statistics. And from what she said of this 5,000 whistleblower tips, that 350 are actionable. And she tried to explain to us what, it was meant by that. And if you recall, very recently, I think about a week ago or so, the acting secretary to the government of the Federation had to formally issue a directive warning heads of agencies and personnel who have been doing illegal recruitment, to desist from, such. And from the tone of the letter, it will appear to me that already they have an idea of which of those government, agencies, are involved in it. Now, what this shows is that, in spite of the fact that some Nigerians have decided to leave their old ways of doing things, there are some who still insist on business as usual. Otherwise, we won't be having contract inflation at this time in our history. We will not be having issue of illegal recruitment at this time of our history.
Breach of due process.
And breach of due process. What it means is that once Nigerians, especially public and civil servants, discover that they can manipulate the head, once they discover the one or two weaknesses of the head, they capitalize on it and move, and that's exactly what we're witnessing today.
But a big problem is also this ghost workers. When we have directors, putting the fictitious names in the pay list.
Yeah, it's a problem at both the national and state level.
To local governments.
Yeah, I was happy when the woman who speaks like a white woman was telling us the number of, how much Nigeria has saved from this ghost worker syndrome, from busting ghost workers. The truth is, people think that it is their right to steal from government.
National cake.
Yes. Civil servants think that it is their right to steal from government. They think that those who are on top steal mindlessly, and that since those guys have refused to set example by living decent lives, by not stealing government money, they too must help themselves to some of the money. Look at, when we talk about ghost workers, there are also ghost pensioners. Because what we discovered from ghost pensioners in 2011 amounted to about 191 billion. Remember what the former head of the pension tax team, Maina, Abdul Rashid Maina, remember what he was doing at that time? He recovered 191 billion from pension thieves. And that money, Okonjo-Iweala confirmed that that 191 billion was put in the budget for the following year. Meaning that the avenues through which our resources are leaking are just too many. So whether it's in form of ghost workers or ghost pensioners,
inflation of contracts.
do you know that some years back a ghost school was discovered by the House of Reps? A ghost school in Abuja, complete with vice principal academic, vice principal admin, and other staff. A ghost school, complete school that did not exist.
It was budgeted for.
And they had a hefty budget, you know, for that year. It was the size of that budget that drew attention to that school. And it was discovered that that school did not exist. So there are many, and civil servants will have found their way to route some money to that school. You know, so there are many ways by which we steal, by which we milk our country mindlessly. So the government has to figure out how to reduce these things to the barest minimum. To say that we'll banish the ghost worker syndrome is to delude ourselves. We can't stop ghost worker syndrome.
Almost impossible.
Yes. In fact, some governors have been harassed and harassed because they know the people, they know traditional rulers are behind this idea of ghost workers, especially in the local government employment register. They put plenty of ghost workers. At the end of the day, when the pay comes, they will now they'll share it amongst themselves. So it's the corruption is mind-boggling, but government must not be discouraged. Government should find the right energy to defeat corruption.
All right, still to come. Boko Haram strikes again, killed 27 in Konduga and attacked 2 Adama communities. We'll be right back after this timeout. It's still Journalist Hangout. Just stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout. We're reaching you live from Television Continental here in Lagos, Nigeria. And Mustafa Ogunshaki is just joining us. Last Wednesday, Baga community in Borno State was thrown into mourning after 31 fishermen were slaughtered by Boko Haram. The fishermen were killed barely 4 weeks after fishing activities resumed in the area. This Tuesday, tears and sorrow moved to Konduga. Now, there, a female suicide bomber blew herself up and killed 27 people at the markets. The same day, 2 more suicide bombers detonated their devices at the gates of an internally displaced persons camp. More than 80 people were injured in the 3 explosions. These bombings followed Monday night's attack of 2 communities in Madagali in Adamawa State. For 2 hours, terrorists killed livestock, looted and burnt many houses and churches in Yibango and Mudubuhu. Boko Haram attacks in the northeast have worsened since the start of the year, despite military's best efforts. What is going on? Jide, I know for a very long time, for some time now, it ceased in Adamawa State. Adamawa State experienced relative peace.
Yes.
You know, and all of a sudden the resurgence of these terrorists in Adamawa State.
The attacks are localized in Madagali because of the proximity to Sambisa forest.
Okay, Madagali shares the same
Yes,
boundaries.
yes. You see, before the election, Boko Haram controlled 7 local governments in Adama, including the hometown of the current governor, Mubi.
Mobile.
That's the hometown
General
of,
Marwa too is from.
that's the hometown of Bendo, the governor.
is from Michika.
Okay, Michika, sorry.
Now, but today, Mubi is safe, Hong is safe, even Vintim, the hometown of the former chief of defense staff, Badi,
Alex Badi.
is safe. The hometown of the former governor of the state, Michika, was also under Boko Haram control before the election. But today, those places are safe. But Madagali, because it is close to Sambisa, they continue to come in from Sambisa to attack people. Those communities where, if you look at Konduga, for example, Konduga is close to Sambisa. In fact, some parts of Konduga is in Sambisa. So it's understandable that they are coming from there to launch attacks. If anybody is in doubt that Boko Haram has effective presence in Sambisa, then that person really does not know anything about the Northeast. They are operating from there and attacking people. You'll be reading reports about Damboa. It's also because Damboa it's like Damboa itself is Sambisa. So all those communities that are close to Sambisa,
And they also have their base in Chad.
are not safe. All those communities are not safe. So all these attacks will continue to come for some time. If we observe, from Konduga right up to the University of Maiduguri, Boko Haram continues to attack those areas because they can move, because it's that same road that leads to Konduga, leads to Bama, leads to Goza. So they can come from the Sambisa forest, enter inside Konduga, and then move. It's not far from, Konduga is not really far from the university. So they can move to those places. The university has no fence around it. They can just come in and begin to kill people. So that is what we are experiencing now. This last attack happened less than 5 hours after the Nigerian army launched a new, 2,000 strong mobile force made up of soldiers from the Nigerian Army Special Forces School in Buniyadi. Just about 5 hours after that, after the launch, the official launch, they decided to strike. Boko Haram always finds a way to send a message. They always find a way to send a message. Say, look, you think that we are finished, but we are not finished. So what we need to do is to renew our strength and realize that we are dealing with a dangerous enemy, an enemy that has not been conquered.
Well, Mustafa, what we see is, these people using young girls to launch their attacks, and they're inching closer to IDPs so that they get maximum casualties.
That in itself is a symbol of the poverty that is around those areas. All these young girls that you're looking at are looking for what to eat. So it's whoever catches them first. Unfortunately, they are caught first by Boko Haram people, and that's exactly what is happening. And for one thing, I want to give it to Jide at the risk of making his head to swell. Over a period of time, over a period of time, Jide has continuously warned, particularly about this time, this rainy season, that by the time it is rainy season, that the Boko Haram people will step up more attacks. We advocated in this forum that during the dry season that the Nigerian army should make haste and reduce these people to the barest minimum. Unfortunately, I cannot blame the Nigerian army. They were not able to achieve that. And I think the spiral attacks now is because they have the advantage of that rainy season to really deal, to come out with their attacks. And until we're able to stem this thing down, I think, but more than this, I think the time has come for Nigerians I still believe very strongly that we should do away with politics, whether you are PDP, whether you are... This is a national embarrassment.
Honestly.
This is a national shame.
Here, but all is not well
it's
in
not
the Northeast.
Nobody is safe. If you think that because we are in Lagos, we are safe, we are just... It's a delusion of the grandeur, honestly. I think government should go beyond party lines now, whether opposition or... Nigerians ought to be united. We should be united as one to fight this common enemy.
All right. Ismail, what do you make of this situation, the escalation of this attack?
Well, I think we saw it coming, because as God will have it, myself and Mr. Babajide were in Maiduguri together almost at the same time before the rainy season set in, and we all watched the governor of Borno about 3-4 months ago crying loud and clear that, look, if we don't deal with these people, once the rain sets in, we'll have problem. Now, having said that, don't also forget that in Adamawa, Madagali, it's about 178 kilometers from a town called Garwa in Cameroon. Madagali is also close to Askrauba in Borno. It's also close to Goza in Borno. And all these two areas, we still have presence of Boko Haram in all those areas. And so it is not surprising. I think what I would just advise is that as much as the army try their best, we may have to live with what we have for now. That is the truth of the matter, because the way these guys operate is such that we may not be able to confront them during this season effectively, except we want to deceive ourselves. So, and while we make the little effort we can make in at least containing them and reducing the risk, we must get set to flush them out once the rainy season is over. Let me also add quickly that using young girls for suicide bombing goes beyond poverty. My personal encounter with most of these guys showed very clearly that a lot of them are hypnotized. Because if we say, if we say the young ones are being lured because of poverty, the man who came to bomb my office in 2012 in Kaduna, Mustafa should be between the age of 35-40. Now, Mustafa came in with his vehicle, rammed into our building. We thought it was an accident, and we were making an effort to even rescue him. But what we realized was that the vehicle he brought, he had pinned all the four sides of the vehicle to himself. And so we were forcing the vehicle to open. Now, once we were able to rescue him, the next thing he started shouting was that, Kugudu, bomb Uchewala is a tashi, that we should run, that his bomb, that it will explode. I was like, this man is out of his senses. So they started beating him. I was not rushing to ensure that they don't kill him in that office, because up to that time, I didn't believe what he was saying. To cut a long story short, eventually when police came, they had battered him and we handed him over to the police. I now went close to the vehicle. No, before then, when they forced him to remove it, he brought out a small one that looks like fire extinguisher, threw it into the crowd. The next thing, the thing exploded and killed 3 people instantly. That was when I believed that this man actually came with something. Now, when he was taken away, we now went to the vehicle to inspect the vehicle. We saw 12 CAM gas cylinders neatly wired to the steering of the vehicle. 3 in the front, 3 in the back seat, and 6 in the boot of the car. So that is why I believe very strongly that it is not a matter of poverty. And that man, for him to have been shouting that he brought bomb to our office, means that by the time he was driving to that office, he was not in his right senses. It was when the thing refused to explode. They drugged them. It was when the thing refused to explode, he realized that, oh, this was what he was supposed to do, and he's alive, and he had to, he has failed, So parents should ensure that they take good care of their kids. And like I did advocated as far back as 2008, that the message of Boko Haram has gone beyond what government thinks. They must take deliberate steps to reorient our young ones, especially those in secondary schools and primary schools.
Did you tell us about this elite squad, this 2,000 people that has just been commissioned to go and fetch Shekau?
Yeah, they are among the best that the army has. What the army is trying to do is to keep the highways busy. Keep the highways busy, maintain some presence on the highway so that ambushes can be reduced to the barest minimum. Because Boko Haram has really inflicted some damage on the army through these ambushes from time to time, and sometimes even ambushing trucks loaded with food and diverting them into Sambisa forest. So they are trying to maintain a considerable presence by getting those 2,000 soldiers to man the highways and then ensure that once there's an attack somewhere, they can respond quickly. You know, before now, the army came up with a motorcycle battalion. The motorcycle battalion was envisaged to respond swiftly to Boko Haram attacks and hunt them down. And then the motorcycle battalion can move freely because in the Sambisa forest, a lot of Boko Haram actually use like motorcycle parts. You know, not down, so those routes you cannot drive. You can't drive through with your car. So it's motorcycles that they use mainly. You cross the road, motorcycle, get back. You know, because I went to Sambisa Forest through Goneri, Yobe Street. I saw the motorcycle. In fact, I took a picture on the motorcycle path that Boko Haram uses. So we came up. The Nigerian Army came up in October 2016 with the motorcycle battalion, which they felt will be really fleet-footed and will be able to go after these guys. But we've not seen considerable improvements in impact in terms of hunting down these guys. Of course, just as we said, during the rainy season, tank warfare is not what you want to consider. So because if you bring heavy trucks into the Sambisa forest, they will get stuck. So that's why I want, even I think the day after Colonel Abu Ali was killed, that before the rain setting, let's crush these people quickly. Let's move fast because I knew that we will be stuck once the rain setting. And the governor also said it, that look, the president, I will need to come and beg the president, you know, to provide all the support.
And this one will give them time to recalibrate.
Because beyond even the texture of the soil, the foliage that the rains give them ensure that you cannot spot them easily. Because the weeds will have been fully overgrown by now, you know, at this time. So they can hide and you will not know that they are actually lurking. So.
All right, moving forward now, former President Goodluck Jonathan has been singing the praises of the People's Democratic Party and his administration. With the party's convention held last Saturday, Jonathan believes that the PDP is now better positioned for an epic contest in 2019. He and other party chieftains have boasted that the party will return to power and reoccupy Aso Rock. To them, the PDP was the government in waiting. But Kogi State Governor Yaya Bello has frowned at their claim. Without missing word, Bello told the PDP to forget about returning to power in 2019. He said Nigerians are yet to forget the pains inflicted on them by 16 years misrule of the PDP and would never vote for the party again. The governor maintained that many would not want to go back to the dark days of looting and diversion and of the nation's patrimony. Even as the PDP solidifies its base, the All Progressive Congress is experiencing deeper intra-party crisis. What kind of political atmosphere await Nigerians in 2015? Mustafa Ogushagin, let me start this from you. When Governor Yaya Bello is saying this and is telling the People's Democratic Party in 2019, and is telling the People's Democratic Party that you better forget it. And one thing came to my mind when you and Jide were giggling. I said maybe he has like an example. If Governor Akinwumi Ambode is saying oh, the People's Democratic Party forgets 2019. And you say, you know, I would say,
take it off.
Yeah, but Yoruba people say, the charity begins at home.
I was going to say the young man must be on something.
He's the wrong person to say that.
Certainly, yes. I mean,
in law, they will tell you he doesn't have locus.
With all respect to the young man, I think you should remember how he came to power before making some certain statements. And besides, I would have preferred if he sorts out the crisis in his own state before dabbling. He has enough trouble in his hands. And when you have your own troubles, you forget about other people's trouble. Let them look at that.
First of all, remove that one in your...
Yes.
Well, generally, if PDP is making that claim, it's coming from President Jonathan, I think it's very interesting. And it means that the field will be very, very interesting to cover come the election period. I've always advocated for a strong opposition so that the ruling government will be able to be on their toes.
Yes.
You know that the launch is over. Nigerians are complaining. There are a lot of problems on the ground. But the sentiment, as far as I'm concerned, is still not with the PDP for now.
No matter how bad.
No matter how bad. Just you see, and this government seems to have perfected the art of releasing one bombshell about the stolen money from time to time when there is one crisis or the other. And you know, it's just a bandwagon effect. In fact, a mob effect. They are stealing her patrimony, they are eating our yam, they can sense, they know the sensibilities of Nigerians. They know how to touch the emotions of Nigerians. But I must warn, only lazy people capitalizes on the weakness of others.
Ismail.
Only lazy people.
Like when you were talking, I was like, if Bello should not be the right person to pass this message. And I think everyone on this table will quite agree with me on that, because the truth is, if Bello, I see Kogi State as one of the APC states that are very, very vulnerable. And so if a state is already vulnerable, how come the man would not be talking about, asking somebody not to contemplate, sacking him? Having said that, I think that what we're experiencing in the polity for now is very, very interesting. I agree with Mr. Ogunsaki that there is a lot of sentiment against PDP. But again, it depends on where you are coming from and where you are talking about. In the south, in the southeast today, PDP is still a first choice. Yeah. Now, if you come to the north, there are certain parts of the north where APC, because of their own infighting, they are beginning to create opportunity for the PDP. As we speak today, there's virtually no APC states that you don't have factions, you don't have crisis.
Yes.
Is it Kaduna?
Even Katsina.
Is it Katsina? Is it Kano?
Bauchi.
Is it Bauchi? In fact, and one thing APC has failed to do, to the best of my knowledge, is its inability to call a spade when their chieftains are involved in crisis. For example, a fact-finding team was sent to Bauchi over 2-3 months ago. As we speak, I'm not sure if they have turned in the report. And if they are turning the report, I'm not sure if a decision has been taken. Same ditto Kaduna. They sent a team there. In fact, that of Kaduna was even bizarre because El-Rufai said it openly, publicly, that he was going to deal with the vice chairman of the party in charge of Northwest. And he did that with him.
Demolish his house.
And the infighting is on. Now, one interesting thing about Kaduna today is that the man who provided the structure that helped El-Rufai to win the primaries in the first instance, Senator Suleiman Unkuyi, is now fighting El-Rufai. So as we speak now, I want to see, as we speak now, it will be very, very difficult verify to wriggle himself out of the current crisis in APC. Now, if the APC as a party is interested in coming back to power after 2019, then it must start to find a way of resolving its crisis. For the past 2 years, APC as a party has not been able to hold a NEC meeting. This is 2 years. They have not been able to hold the NEC meeting. Now, the delegate election that was held on July 29th found out in most of the states there was no election.
Yeah. Rivers,
what they did was that, Rivers, Kaduna, you had it because the people were not with the governor. But in other states, there was no election anywhere. That was what was done. They just sat down and wrote people's names. And these were the same thing we were castigating PDP for. Unfortunately, they have returned back to it.
Jide, your intervention on this, your governor is spilling fire and is actually
the man will become flesh.
He's talking against the
PDP. He has
PDP.
since changed his state. He's now from the Ekiti state.
Yes. I will welcome
No, not officially, not officially.
I welcome you.
Just
My dad has begged me that because I publicly professed my love for Ekiti and my desire to transfer my
Your allegiance.
allegiance to Ekiti.
because you share the same boundary.
Coming through Omuoke, which is not far from my home.
Anyway.
But my dad said, no, you can't do it. I know you are frustrated, but don't do it. Now, my governor said Nigerians have not forgotten
The 16 years.
16 years of misrule of the PDP. But he fails to realize that it is actually easier to forget 16 years of misrule that terminated in 2015
Yes.
than to forget
What
the
is going on?
misrule
That is going on.
that they are going through right now, which is not up to 2 years old. So the truth is, if you said those guys ruled Nigeria in a bad way, are you as governor of Kogi State ruling the state in the right way when you can't pay people salaries? You can't pay people salaries, you are fighting with everyone. You are banning ASU. So, some of the things that are happening in Kogi are so ridiculous that it brings mortal shame to me. It brings mortal shame to me to continue to talk about some of those things because it diminishes me as a person. People must understand when you say you want to adopt another state, it's not a joke. It's a statement of fact that arose out of frustration, out of despondency. So if anyone would say he was just being polite, the leadership of the APC in Kogi State, the APC chairman is ESCO, they are against the governor. A lot of the people are with Faleke. Whether he likes it or Faleke is more popular than him in the state. He's just governor.
Because
he
he's
became governor with how many
Audu.
thousand votes? Less than 5,000 votes, he became governor.
Substituted.
By
He
default.
but he shouldn't have been governor.
He was governor
But
by default.
no doubt, no, he's there. We'll give it to him because it's God that puts people in positions.
Yes, sir.
But it's the responsibility of people that God has
put
put in
there.
positions to rule in the right way. Because if you do not rule in the right way, then history will judge you harshly. As things stand now, as things stand now, he lacks the moral rectitude. He lacks the moral standpoint to be talking about PDP ruling not being qualified to even think of 2019.
Jide, I wanted to say, even as bad as we thought the administration of Ibrahim Idris, Idris Wada,
Kogi was not,
it was
one thing, Wada may have been a failure himself, but Kogi was not always negatively in the news like this, which is the bigger shame for me. Always in the news for the wrong reason. Under Wada, yes, Wada was like an absentee governor, just sitting there doing nothing. And he couldn't pay salaries. Yes, we know. That's why Kogi asked for 50 billion bailout, higher than any other state in Nigeria. Because Wada was a failure. But Wada is smelling like roses now when compared to to the man who is there. The younger man who should have brought better energy. He's
energy.
smelling like roses. He's smelling like roses. These are the kind of things that happen where people will now say, oh, I wish this one was there.
Not too young to rule.
No, you can't even be talking about a man who is in his 40s and being young. Nigerians should stop saying that the governor is young, is youthful, is a young man. How is a man who is above 40 a young man? How? That's the age that the militant of this world are becoming prime minister of great countries. No, it's not too young. It's not a young man anymore.
All right, reaching home stretch now. There is anxiety and growing protest over the state of President Muhammadu Buhari's health. It's now more than 100 days. I think today makes it 100 days since he went on medical leave in the United Kingdom. Recently, his media team visited him in London and said the president could return to Nigeria, but was waiting for his doctors to give the final go-ahead. A pressure group known as Our Mumu Don't Do said it is having none of it. The group has issued an ultimatum for him to either resume or resign. On Tuesday, the group took its agitation to Wuse Market in Abuja. Unfortunately, they left there with bruises. Co-convener of the group, Charles Okuta, also known as Charlie Boy, encountered a mob. The crowd threw stones and hard substances at Charlie Boy and members of his movements for demanding that president resumes or resigns. Security men at the scene saved the situation from degenerating. Ismail, is there anything wrong with this protest, Our Mumu Don't Do? If some citizens of Nigeria feel that, look, the president has spent 100 days, that is not a president in London, that is either he resigns or resumed work. That's fine. If they are showing video that Mr. President is okay, let him come to Aso Rock and take up the responsibility he was voted for.
Let me start by saying there's nothing wrong about protest. The way you feel may not be the same way I feel. And if I feel about a thing, I should be allowed to vent my view, vent my anger, however unpleased it may appear to you. But I want to draw a line of distinction between what happened under Yar'Adua and what we are currently experiencing. Because a lot of Nigerians try to muddle up these two issues. I agree totally that under Yar'Adua, there was no letter that was transmitted before Yar'Adua took off. And I recall very vividly that his presidential liaison officer to the National Assembly then, Senator Mohammed Abba-Aji, there was this back and forth over whether there was a letter or there was no letter. And that was what led us into doctrine of necessity, which the National Assembly activated, making Jonathan an acting president. Now, in the case of General Muhammadu Buhari, or President Muhammadu Buhari, a letter was transmitted giving the vice president the power to act on his behalf. Now, are there certain things that have been done wrongly in the name of Osinbajo acting? Yes. And one of them, I will just mention one. When it was time to sign the budget, the President's Special Assistant on National Assembly Matters, Senate, told us that the budget would be taken to London for assent. Subsequently, the Vice President, the Acting President spokesperson told us that the Acting President would sign the budget. On the day the Acting President was to sign the budget, Garba Shehu, the Senior Special Assistant to the President, issued a release telling us that the President
Buhari has
spoke
directed
to the Minister for National Planning, Budget and National Planning, Udo Udoma, to ask the Acting President tonight. For me, that was an anomaly. Because what it means is that the man who is acting is just acting in name. He has no powers to discharge the responsibility of his office. However, even before the president took heel, a lot of Nigerians have shown their sentiment.
Ismail, just save your gunpowder there. Let's just take this round so that I can come back to you. Mustafa.
Yeah. I was just going to say to Ismail that transmission or no transmission, what we have experienced so far is that there cannot be two presidents at the same time. Whether power by law was transmitted to the acting president, has he been able to act in that capacity? There will be confrontations, as he has mentioned. There's even another one at a point in time with the Attorney General. You understand me? So you will realize that there's a high-wired politics that is going to, we must even give it to the acting president that he has been able to strike a balance in all these things. Otherwise, things will have gone down more than this.
Okay, Mustafa, I want to put it in proper perspective here.
Yes.
Our searchlights, our focus now is the Mumu don't do protests. Those ones for and those ones against. When Charlie Boy came, when Charlie Boy came out with his own, we just saw some group of other Nigerians coming out to say, no, that's, you know, that's a pro-Buhari protest, that the president is okay, nothing must happen, and we thought that is the beauty of democracy. While this one was holding their own here, that one should be holding his own here. But from what happened yesterday, we spoke earlier today, and it's becoming worrisome.
Yes, I think that if Charlie Boy had not gone to Wuse market, what happened yesterday would not have happened. You can hold your protest at the same place where you've been having that protest. They bring back, I guess, people, you know, who are doing their sitting.
And that's something that
same place.
Several days.
That place had been known as a place where people protest and all that. It is not possible to protest everywhere. Even in Egypt, you had the Tahrir Square, you know, and because government realized that that Tahrir Square, when people converge there, it symbolizes opposition to the government. The government made it difficult for the Muslim Brotherhood to hold, I mean, to protest in that, because if they should take charge of that place for so long, the message is sense carried that the government is no longer popular. So Charlie Boy had no reason to go inside the market to want to hold a protest.
Despite the fact that it's legitimate to hold this protest.
Yeah, you can protest. Because in that place, even the environment, it will be difficult for the police to be able to control the crowd. It's a disorganized kind of setting. If you want to organize a peaceful protest, you have your protest in the right way. It's just like saying, no, you want to protest now, and you choose maybe the redemption camp, for example, and you are Muslims, you want to go to that place to protest. I'm just using that as an illustration. It's not everywhere that people can protest, you know? So you can't go into a market where that it will be difficult for the police to ensure order and then protest, because even when you are protesting, the responsibility of the police is to protect you. Once they are aware that you are going to protest, they must protect you and ensure that nothing untoward happens to you. But to go to that place, I've heard people say, oh, Wuse market is dominated by houses. Of course, it's a lie. Of course, it's a lie. People say also rubbish on Facebook. People who are not, the Hausa community, I mean, the Hausa people in Wuse may actually not be many, but a lot of them may not be able to stand some of the insults and some of the things that they will say freely about Buhari. Because when you talk about Buhari, some of the people, so his loyalists, you know, it's a kind of cult following. So even if there are not many, a few of them can still confront. And in any case, even Charlie Boy's crowd was a small crowd, just people less than 10. So he had no reason to go to that place. That's what we must be careful, because our country is on tenterhooks. This is anything, any little thing can spark a major conflagration in our country. So people must be careful of what they do. You can imagine yesterday if Charlie Boy was killed.
Exactly.
Honestly.
You can imagine what would have happened.
That was what I
lynched
thank God
yesterday.
for.
You can imagine what would have happened.
This is not what we'll be talking about now.
Yes, by now the people,
This is
the
not what
houses will
we're
be
talking
burning
about
and all
now.
that.
We may not even have had the opportunity of coming here today.
Yes,
This is not what
there
we're
will be
talking
riot
about now.
A lot
everywhere.
of people are already interpreting it outside versus
Yes,
Igbo
yes.
and
They would
everything.
have
And
thought that,
do-
okay, is the actually the continuation of this hate,
Yeah.
that's what that Shetima and all that, the quit notice and all that. That's how people interpret it.
But now the East will be something else, the North
The East will
be
be
something
boiling.
else. That,
We thank God. We thank God.
So I think he tested his popularity in that place and
he has seen
he
that,
got his fingers burned. It's not everywhere that you can actually test your popularity.
That's the beauty of democracy. And I want to thank you, Ismail Omipidon, for attending. Mustafa Gushaki, I'm sure it's Lagos traffic that held you. And my co-anchor, Babajide Kolade Otitojo. And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join Veronica Danikboyi tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight on DSTV 418, GoTV 45. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on YouTube. That's youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozuba. We'll see you on Friday. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.